The story begins in a fancy place, all lit up with lanterns under the moonlight. Inside a room, a young man is asleep at a table while a mysterious woman keeps an eye on him. Suddenly, he wakes up all confused, not knowing where he is or what's going on. Jumping forward in time, we see he was an ordinary worker reading a novel on the bus. The novel he was reading had a very tragic ending, with the protagonist losing badly to the villain. Upset with the story's ending, the reader gets furious and throws his phone on the bus floor. As soon as it hits the floor, the device starts to glow with a mysterious purple light. This light completely surrounds the guy, who has absolutely no idea what's happening. In that moment, he's transported into the body of the protagonist from the novel he was reading. A cute little bird appears and introduces itself as an AI system. The guy is immediately convinced because he just received that famous system that helps protagonists. He realizes the story has changed because instead of a pretty girl, he got a rooster. The system informs him that there are cards and treasures for him, and the young man already feels invincible. He remembers that the character gets married right at the beginning of the novel and decides to seize the opportunity. The guy then leaps toward the bride, all excited for their wedding night. Without a second thought, he grabs the red veil to reveal his wife's face. But upon lifting the veil, the young man is completely shocked by what he finds underneath. The woman actually has white hair and calls him a prodigal husband in a very annoyed way. The young man panics and says it was a misunderstanding, realizing he isn't this person, Ling Lai. Looking around, he wonders why he was tricked and what's really going on. Then it hits him he's not the protagonist, but a total nobody named Mo Yaling. That woman in front of him is Xia Ling, the main antagonist of the novel who became an empress. With a smile on her face, she approaches the young man and calls him husband in a seductive way. The villainess then offers him a drink, saying it's getting late. The young man knows there's something in that drink, and that she's going to hurt him afterward anyway. Desperate, he remembers she's going to drain all his yin energy until he can't take it anymore. But suddenly the system appears, showing the villainess his information and a new mission. He decides to use a swap card to switch his drink with the evil girls. A blue light appears, and the card quickly swaps the contents of the two cups. The little bird confirms the swap was successful, and now his drink is safe. Without hesitation, the guy downs the drink in one go to show he's confident in the situation. He then compliments the wine and offers the other cup to the woman, so she can drink it too. The villainess stares at him with a suspicious smile, but it seems like she's going to accept the drink. She drinks the liquid while the young man thinks his plan worked perfectly. Suddenly, the woman starts to feel extremely hot and turns completely red. She realizes she drank the wrong cup and that it was all the young man's fault. Furious, the villainess storms out of the room, slamming the door with tremendous force. She goes to a bathroom and jumps into the water to try to cool down from the heat. Inside the tub, she swears she'll get her revenge on the guy as soon as the effect wears off. But she's surprised because the potion's effect is much stronger than she imagined. He enters the bathroom and is stunned by the beauty of the woman in the tub. With a superior attitude, the guy says they need to establish some rules from now on. But the girl in the water beckons him closer with a very inviting look. The young man thinks she can't resist him and will agree to anything he says. She then tells him to stop being so full of himself and surprises him with her attitude. Without any warning, the villainess grabs him tightly and throws him into the tub with her. Falling into the water, he remembers she's the main villain and doesn't play by the rules. Underwater, the two of them face each other, and he realizes the fight is about to begin. He's surprised by the softness of her body and thinks this will be his first time. The white-haired girl kisses him and is shocked by his strong yin energy. She feels his energy entering her body and finds the sensation wonderful. A pink light surrounds her, and she levels up while the guy's hair changes color. The system announces that the mission is complete, but her affection only increased by 1 point. With her hair now pink, the villainess thinks she needs to tell the queen about this. Meanwhile, a green-haired servant spies on everything from a distance, with a terrified look on her face. Later that night, the scene shifts to the emperor's grand palace. The servant tells a woman that the sixth prince has a body of pure yin. This woman listening to the report is the queen of the Muyan dynasty, Murong Minji. The queen reflects that she didn't expect this from a nobody and that the Ji clan got the better deal. She decides that even though he's not a threat, it's better to get rid of him once and for all. The queen then orders the news about the sixth prince to be spread throughout the court the next day. The servant kneels and agrees to follow Her Majesty's orders without question. Early the next morning, the scene shifts to a beautiful palace with the sun shining brightly. The guy wakes up in bed and realizes it's already morning and he's with the villainess. A note explains that in the original story, the main character's legs were injured. Relieved, he notices his legs are perfectly fine and that he narrowly escaped danger. He decides his top priority now is to increase Jia Ling's affinity for him. As he thinks, we see the pink-haired girl sleeping peacefully beside him. Walking down the street, he complains that her affinity is rising too slowly. The system then shows that her affinity for him is still very low and in the negatives. He thinks that over the past few days, he has gotten a better understanding of the system and its items. As he walks, the system's bird floats beside him with the information screen. Many items are locked, and he deduces it's because he hasn't completed the tasks. The girl calls him husband and finds him mysterious for not sensing any power coming from him. He responds confidently and thinks about how impressive her presence is. Suddenly, another couple appears in front of them and blocks their path. The man is the second prince, Mu Yu, and he apologizes for not attending the wedding. The protagonist replies that it was no big deal, and he doesn't need to worry about it. Mu Yu then comments on the nasty rumors he's heard about his wife. The girl gets furious at the comment and swears she'll end that man's life. With the provocation, the girl's anger level rises from 30 to 35%. The guy notices her darkness value has increased and fears she might attack the prince. To calm the situation, he holds his brother's wrist and apologizes for the offense. He then warns him that his wife is not there to be judged by him. Turning his back, the young man takes her hand and says they have important things to do. The second prince is confused and thinks his brother seems like a different person now. Feeling full of himself, he asks if he impressed her and goes to check the affinity level. The system screen shows the affinity is still negative, and he gets very disappointed. With a mischievous look, he wonders if he needs to do that thing to raise her affection. Walking hand in hand, he feels like people are looking at him in a strange way. Elsewhere, a pink-haired girl named Manhwa presents a gift to the queen. The queen calls her closer and says she wants to see the progress of her skills. The girl then asks if the rumor about the sixth prince having a Purian physique is true. The empress laughs and confirms it's true, saying she's the fifth person to ask. The niece explains that she needs his help to advance and only wants to be a concubine. At that moment, the couple arrives at the palace, and the guy was already expecting a situation like this. He remembers that in the original work, the empress stripped Jiling of her title as the legitimate wife. On top of that, the queen also humiliated her in a very cruel way in front of everyone. But things are different now because he's not a nobody, and he entered the palace with her. Determined, he decides he'll use this chance to raise her affection and save himself. He notices the pink-haired girl's gaze and gets the feeling she wants to devour him. In front of everyone, the queen asks Jiling if she's feeling uncomfortable in the palace. The white-haired girl is confused by the question and doesn't understand what the empress means. The queen then insults her, saying she isn't from a pure tribe, but just a half-breed. With the insult, her anger level rises, and the guy becomes desperate about the tense situation. He defends her, saying his wife is fine and that the empress doesn't need to worry about her. The girl is surprised by his attitude, and her affinity increases by 5 positive points. The empress is furious at the audacity of a disgraced royal concubine's son. Without further ado, the queen says she wants them to separate because Manhwa is more suitable. Jiling refuses on the spot and threatens to end the guy if he agrees to the divorce. The queen ignores the threat and orders the prince to divorce his wife immediately. The pink-haired girl says she accepts being a concubine and that he will receive many rewards for it. She then suggests a fair competition between the two of them in various womanly arts and talents. The empress thinks a competition is a great and legitimate way to solve the problem. With a smile on her face, she believes the wild girl will be eliminated right at the start. She then agrees to the contest and warns that if Jiling loses, she loses her position as wife. The guy decides he's going to use his almost invincible system to help his wife win. He gets closer and whispers for her to accept the challenge because he has a way to help her. The girl looks at him suspiciously and wonders what her husband's true intentions are. Time flies and the day of the great competition finally arrives. In the competition hall, the two girls prepare for the challenge while the judge watches. The white-haired girl suspiciously asks what her husband's brilliant plan is. He replies with a confident smile for her to just follow his instructions and everything will be fine. The judge announces that the test is embroidery and will last for 2 hours with a freestyle theme at the end. The materials are given to both of them, and the competition finally begins for real. With great skill, the pink-haired girl starts to embroider, looking very confident. Meanwhile, his wife just stares at the fabric and wonders if he wants her to lose. Seeing the situation, the guy pulls out a card from the system and says it's time to act. The flower embroidery card glows, and its power goes toward the girl's work. Meanwhile, the sand in the hourglass continues to fall, marking the passage of time. When time is up, the judge asks both of them to present their embroidery. First, she shows the pink-haired girl's lotus embroidery and praises the work. Then, the lady turns to finally evaluate the other competitor's work. The queen thinks her niece has already won because the other is just a wild girl. But upon unrolling the scroll, the judge is completely shocked by what she sees. She is impressed by the magnificent landscape while the guy celebrates the plan's success. However, she notices some small creatures in the forest that she has never seen in her life. With a know-it-all attitude, the guy explains that it's called abstract art. Convinced, the lady admits her ignorance and declares the sixth princess as the winner. With the unexpected result, the queen is furious and can't believe what she just heard. The pink-haired girl vows to defeat her next time, while the other wonders how she won. The queen announces the second round of the competition and says the girl's luck has just run out. With a veil over her face, the white-haired girl prepares for the dance competition. She begins to dance with great grace, and the guy realizes she could win on her own. With sparkling eyes, he holds a dance card, all excited about the performance. In comparison, the other girl's dance looks more like a folk dance and is less impressive. With a confident smile, the protagonist is already sure who will take the victory. After the performances, the result will be decided by a vote from everyone present. The guy is shocked and can't believe what he's seeing when the votes are revealed. All the judges show their scrolls with Maranghua's name written on them. The white-haired girl is also surprised and confused by the vote's outcome. The queen brags about having chosen all the judges and secured her niece's victory. Annoyed, the guy promises he'll show the old woman what it's like to really win. He hands a mysterious ring to his wife and says she'll need it in the next round. She puts on the ring and is surprised that she can't even identify the object's level. For the third and final round, the two prepare for a martial arts competition. The pink-haired girl charges forward without a second thought, heading toward her opponent. The two swords clash with force, and the battle finally begins for real. The white-haired girl manages to defend against the attacks despite being at a lower level. With an impressed look, she feels the force of the attack and realizes the fight will be tough. The pink-haired girl prepares a powerful spinning attack with her sword. Tired, the girl admits her opponent's strength and thinks that she can't lose this fight. With a battle cry, the queen's niece uses a powerful skill with her sword. The ring's magic shield protects the white-haired girl and reflects the attack. The pink-haired girl is completely shocked and doesn't understand what just happened. Holding her sword, the guy's wife prepares for her next move in the fight. The queen and the other nobles are surprised and wonder if that's a protective treasure. A pink energy starts to gather around the girl, who is also surprised. She then launches a powerful energy attack toward her adversary. The attack hits the girl head-on and throws her back with great force. The white-haired girl feels that the uncomfortable energy is about to consume her. Determined to win, she uses all her strength to control the pink energy and end the fight. The queen's niece is terrified by the frightening aura coming from her opponent. Suddenly, the protagonist appears and catches her before the energy gets out of control. He hits her with a quick strike and leaves her unconscious in his arms. With her hand on the back of her neck, the girl looks at him, annoyed for being knocked out by him. With a victorious smile, he says this is the perfect solution for the situation. Everyone is shocked by the sixth prince's strength and wonders if the queen deceived them. In the end, he declares that she won and carries her in his arms protectively. Tired and defeated, the queen tells everyone to leave and ends the competition. The queen is surprised by the strength of the prince, who had always been so low-key in the palace. Defeated, the queen's niece decides she needs to find another way to get what she wants. Back in the room, the girl asks what happened in the fight and where the ring came from. He makes up an excuse and says the only thing he wants is to have her by his side always. With a seductive smile, he hugs her and asks why she doubts him so much. Embarrassed, she tells him to stop being so full of himself and moves away a little. Her affinity level rises a little more, and the guy celebrates the progress. A system screen shows that his cultivation level has also increased to the first realm. He realizes that raising her affinity also improves his cultivation and decides to focus on that. The girl says she's going to take a bath, and the guy agrees with a simple okay. Alone, he asks the system about the true origin of that mysterious ring. The little bird explains that the ring is a spiritual treasure that belonged to an ancient demon. While taking a bath, the girl feels a strange presence in her mind because of the ring. In her sea of consciousness, she comes face to face with a giant fox and feels a familiar aura. She asks what a senior from the Yo clan is doing in her sea of consciousness. The fox explains that it's trapped in the ring and wants to make a deal with the young woman. Half an hour later, the girl gets out of the bath, and the guy is waiting for her in the room. He starts asking about the ring, but she cuts him off before he can continue. She explains that she accidentally became the ring's owner and asks if he minds. Scared, he says he doesn't mind and decides to focus on staying alive for now. With a seductive smile, she invites him to join her in a shared dream. Embarrassed but not refusing, the guy accepts his wife's invitation to the dream. She thinks about the deal she made with the demon fox to obtain its cultivation technique. With a provocative look, she warns him to hold on tight and not give in easily. He challenges her and says he'll show her all his strength that night. The scene shifts to the night sky and time passes quickly to the next day. Exhausted, he thinks he was almost drained to the last drop of energy. He senses a strange presence and uses a causality card to investigate the situation. Black smoke spreads, and he realizes the queen is up to something again. He recognizes the person as Yun Yao, a servant of the queen with mystical abilities. A mysterious woman appears in the room with a sphere of blue energy in her hand. A secret mission appears to raise Yun Yao's affinity to 50. He complains about the difficult mission, but the rewards are too good to ignore. Determined, he decides he's going to face the challenge and try his luck with the new mission. He kicks open the door of the room where the woman is hiding to surprise her. Light floods the room and the door swings open, revealing the queen's servant inside. The woman gets startled by the sudden entrance and screams, asking who's there. With a seductive air, he asks what she's doing in his room so early. The woman gets annoyed and glares at him with contempt, making it clear she's not easy to deal with. He remembers some books he read on how to win over women and feels more confident. He asks what a queen servant is doing in his residence so early. With his hand on her shoulder, he makes up a story that he was forced to marry Jai Ling. He then compliments the woman, saying she seems much more reasonable than his wife. The servant pushes him away, but he continues with the compliments and suggests she become his wife. He promises to demote the other one and make her the princess, and the woman is shocked by the proposal. With the guy's smooth talk, her affinity rises to 80, and she gets all flustered. The mission is a success and the system gives the protagonist great rewards. But suddenly his wife appears at the door and catches the two of them together in the room. The servant smirks and tells the white-haired girl to ask the prince what's going on. He switches sides immediately and accuses the woman of having malicious thoughts about them. The servant is furious when she realizes she was completely tricked by the guy. Filled with hatred, she prepares to attack the couple with all her mystical power. The guy hides behind his wife and asks for protection because his power is recharging. The girl draws her sword, and he feels safe because he knows she's much stronger. The fight begins, and his wife easily defends against the servant's attack. The woman screams in pain as she's hit head-on by the powerful counterattack. The winner threatens to use the servant's energy to increase her own cultivation. The guy stops her and says that attacking one of the queen's servants will cause a lot of trouble. The woman lies defeated on the floor, while the couple stares at her, doing nothing. But she gets up with a weapon and says she'll show them her true abilities. The guy is shocked to see the servant summon an evil spirit to fight. The summoned ghost has fox ears and red eyes glowing with malice. His wife is surprised because the spirit has a very high cultivation level. The servant orders the ghost to finish off the white-haired girl without mercy. Desperate, the guy yells for his wife to watch out for the powerful attack. The girl is caught by surprise and feels powerless to counter the blow. The servant boasts about her victory and says she'll turn her opponent into a servant. Seeing the situation, the guy decides to use a card to increase his wife's strength. The cultivation card glows and temporarily boosts the white-haired girl's strength. A pink light surrounds her, and everyone is surprised by the sudden power increase. She feels the spiritual energy concentrating in her and entering the golden core realm. The spirit attacks, but the girl is now much stronger and ready to fight back. With a confident smile, she prepares to show off her new power in the battle. She defeats both opponents, and now they are no match for her. The winner grabs the servant by her hair and lifts her off the ground with ease. A ring on the white-haired girl's finger glows with a mysterious light. With a wicked smile, she uses the ring's power to absorb the servant's energy. The guy is impressed with the ghost clan's unique ability to absorb energy. She warns that if the servant tells the queen anything, she will end her life. Defeated and powerless, the woman promises not to tell anyone about what happened there. With a cold look, she tells the defeated servant to get out of her room immediately. Frightened, the woman runs out of the room to save her life as quickly as she can. The fox spirit is still there, and the guy thinks about what to do with her now. He uses a card and realizes her connection to the servant has been severed forever. The ghost then gains a physical body with blonde hair and fox ears. Surprised, she looks at her new body and feels memories from when she was alive. The guy explains he used a secret technique to give her a body and names her Tonger. Grateful, the fox swears eternal loyalty to her new master and promises to serve him. She is impressed by his power and decides she will follow him with all her heart. He introduces her to his wife and says she can help with her cultivation training. The white-haired girl suspects that he used a spiritual treasure for all of this. Her affinity increases, and embarrassed, she thanks him for his help in the battle. He's happy with the affinity increase and thanks the queen for her indirect help. Elsewhere, we see the leader of the Chinju sect, Linjin Master Mo Nian. He summons his disciple, Ling Li, to be the mentor for the princes at the palace. The disciple accepts the mission, and thus, the original protagonist of the novel finally appears. Since the last fight, the guy's life has become much quieter and calmer in the palace. The only one still bothering him is Manhwa, who won't give up trying to win him over. The system shows new missions, and he realizes the focus is on increasing Jiling's affinity. Suddenly, a guard comes running and yells that the sixth prince needs help. The guard explains that the princess hit the prime minister's daughter with gold coins. Shocked, the guy asks why his wife would do something like that to the girl. The man says he doesn't know the details, but that she's being held at the Guanjin garden. He orders the horses to be prepared and thinks the secret mission makes sense now. Meanwhile, in the garden, a group of people is arguing about the fight that just happened. The prime minister's daughter cries and asks the second prince to get justice for her. The man suggests she apologize to resolve the issue peacefully, but the girl refuses and says the other one also stole her spiritual pearl. A girl defends the princess and says she just found the pearl in the grass. The young woman continues to defend her friend and says the other one is lying about everything. The white-haired girl explains the slap was to teach the other one how to behave. The second prince gets furious at her audacity and calls her by her name. He insults her, saying she's nothing but a nobody and the wife of a weak cultivator. With a wicked smile, the white-haired girl summons a spirit for battle. But before the fight can begin, the sixth prince arrives at the garden to resolve the situation. A little girl runs up to him and hugs him, calling him cousin and asking for help. He remembers the girl as his niece and an important ally of the antagonist in the novel. His wife's darkness level increases drastically, and he despairs over the situation. He decides the priority now is to calm his wife down before things get worse. With a gentle look, he calls out to his wife and tries to get her attention. In a calm tone, he beckons her closer with a very inviting hand gesture. Surprised, she asks how he got there so quickly to help with the mess. He hugs her and says he couldn't let his wife be mistreated by other people. The second prince caused to interrupt the couple's romantic moment. With a look of contempt, he criticizes his younger brother's lack of manners. The guy insults him back, leaving the prince furious with the comparison. Another man appears and greets the sixth prince in a very friendly way. The protagonist recognizes the two as Chu Yang and Chu Zhenjun, the villains from the novel. He remembers that in the original work, they mistreated him a lot when he was a child. The emperor didn't care about him for being a nobody and let him get bullied. The dark-haired girl also looked down on him for being weak and having no future in the palace. He realizes that if it weren't for the Bai family, he would have met a tragic end. With an air of superiority, he asks who dared to mistreat his dear wife. The prime minister's daughter confronts him and asks who he's cussing out. With a mocking smile, he says he's cussing out whoever answered his question. The girl brags about her grandfather's power and demands that he resolve the situation. He accuses her of speaking without proof and says his wife doesn't care about the pearl. With a snap of his fingers, he summons his fox servant and a giant spirit. The fox prepares to attack on her master's command with a lot of energy. The prime minister's daughter is terrified and yells the guy's name in anger. The girl tries to stand her ground, but a hand comes out of a portal and attacks her. She screams in pain as she gets slapped hard across the face and falls to the ground. With her eyes rolling back, the girl faints and her spirit leaves her body for a moment. The villain draws his sword and charges furiously toward the sixth prince. With his sword technique, he prepares a powerful attack to finish the guy off. He launches the attack with all his strength and yells for the prince to drop. But the fox servant appears in front of him and stops the sword with just 2 fingers. With a look of contempt, she glares at the man and terrifies him with her power. The fox uses a seduction skill to confuse him and tells him to admit defeat. The man feels dizzy and wonders what kind of trick she's using on him. He tries to stand firm, but the fox's ability is too strong for him. The second prince notices the fox's power and wonders if he could defeat her. The servant prepares to end the fight with a purple energy sphere. The second prince interrupts and warns that the fainted girl needs treatment. With a fake smile, he suggests his brother let the other guy go to take his sister. The protagonist agrees to the proposal and accepts, letting the two of them leave in peace. With an air of superiority, he suggests his brother accompany them to ensure their safety. The prince gets annoyed at his audacity and glares at him with hatred in his eyes. He helps his friend up and asks if he's okay after the attack. The man realizes his cultivation has been sealed and is shocked by the discovery. He hears a strange noise and is confused about what's happening there. From a distance, a man shouts the sixth prince's name with anger in his eyes. The shout startles everyone, and they look in the direction of the noise, completely confused. The scene shifts to the royal palace, where the commotion will continue shortly. The guy walks through the palace, annoyed with the situation that just occurred. The queen forbids him from leaving his residence and orders him to reflect on his actions. With a look of contempt, the guy glares at the queen's order with great anger. He ignores the order and keeps walking as if nothing happened. Suddenly, he spots a familiar figure and wonders what's going on. He recognizes the man as the protagonist of the novel and questions his presence. The guy thinks that if he can keep him close, he might be able to avoid the tragic ending. But the system shows there are no items that can be used on the original protagonist. He approaches and asks what the famous Ling Li is doing in the palace. The man explains he was summoned to be the second prince's tutor by the king's order. The guy invites him to stay at his house for a few days to rest from the journey. The tutor politely declines the invitation, saying it would be improper to do so. The guy remembers that in the novel, he wasn't well liked and understands the refusal. The man explains he's taken the prince to train and can't be late. Upon hearing about the underworld palace, the guy is shocked by the information. He remembers an important detail from the story and wonders how he could have forgotten. The demon fox teaches a special technique to the white-haired girl. She regrets being deceived by a man and ending up in a bad situation. The guy's wife realizes the key to the technique is dual cultivation with a partner. With a sparkle in her eyes, the fox prepares to begin the special training. The white-haired girl screams as she feels the fox's energy entering her body. The demon realizes the energy is still not enough for its plans. She promises to show the young woman the true pleasure of life with the technique. The girl asks the fox not to touch certain places and gets all embarrassed. With a wicked smile, the demon says it's going to borrow her body. Meanwhile, the guy is thinking about what he's going to eat with his wife for dinner later. He returns to the room all excited and calls for his dear wife. But he sees his wife running towards him with a strange pink aura. With a seductive look, she calls him husband and says he's finally back. The guy realizes something is very wrong and panics about the situation. The girl grabs him and starts to absorb all his yin energy at once. He feels his energy being drained and is terrified by her power. Meanwhile, the woman feels a large amount of energy entering her body. The guy asks if she's the demon fox from the ring and not his real wife. With a provocative smile, she tells him to stop hesitating and enjoy the moment. The white-haired girl draws her sword and prepares for her next move. He watches his wife training and realizes she needs to get rid of the demon. The guy praises the fox servant's training, and she returns the compliment to her master. He remembers Ling Li's power and understands the different cultivation realms. The original protagonist is already near the peak of the nascent soul stage. The underworld palace will open in 5 days, and he prepares for the journey. The location actually the sealed land of the demon tribe and is guarded by a sect. The place is inhabited by demonic beasts, and a great treasure is hidden there. He remembers that in the novel, Ling Lai obtained a special item in the palace. With a confident smile, he calls his wife to pack their bags and change history. In the palace, the queen sips tea and reflects on recent events. She thinks the couple won't have a lasting impact and that she lost a pawn. The empress has already assigned the tutor to help the second prince with his plans. She believes the trip to the underworld palace will secure the throne for her son. 5 days later, the palace entrance is finally open to visitors. 2 elders complain about the presence of ghost clan descendants in the area. The girl's darkness level increases, and the guy gets annoyed with everyone's sinister tone. He defends his companions and warns the old men not to speak ill of them. The elders look down on him for being the son of a concubine and a useless non-cultivator. With a fake tone, they apologize and warn about the dangers of the palace. He dismisses their concern and says he has his wife to protect him on the journey. Inside the palace, he's surprised by the number of people who have already arrived. The place is filled with guards and cultivators from all over, seeking power. He complains about the price of a bottle of water and thinks they're exploiting people. With the weak spiritual energy, he decides they need to go deeper. He holds his wife's hand and guides her into the depths of the palace. The white-haired girl follows him as he pulls her along in a hurry. They find the second prince and his group meditating to absorb the energy. The prince's tutor says goodbye and says he's going to explore the depths of the palace. The prince gives him permission to go and tells him be careful of the dangers there. Grateful, the tutor bows and departs with his wife for the exploration. In the depths of the palace, the guy's group prepares for the next step. Bored, he realizes there's not much to do and that the world is very dull. He remembers his old life and misses the games he used to play. He decides to take a walk nearby while his wife practices in peace. A new mission to confront the Villainess siblings appears, and he sees a good opportunity. The siblings walk through the caves, and the girl asks if they need to go deeper. With a confident smile, the brother says it's natural for them to continue the journey. The girl questions why they aren't with the second prince for more safety. He explains that the prince is too cowardly and won't venture into the depths. The two decide to continue and climb a rock wall to reach the next level. Startled by the sudden presence, the siblings scream and ask who's there. The guy appears with a smile and says he didn't expect to run into them so soon. The brother provokes him and says the place is dangerous for someone who can't cultivate. Annoyed, the guy asks who spread the rumor that he can't cultivate. He knows a safe shortcut, but he knows the siblings are taking the dangerous path. Suddenly, a roar echoes through the cave and startles the group of villains. The girl is terrified by the noise and wonders what's happening. A giant demonic monster appears with a terrifying purple aura. The brother notices the monster's strength and is shocked by its power level. He tries to run, and the protagonist taunts him for not being able to handle the demon. The siblings challenge the guy to fight the monster, since he thinks he's so tough. With a confident smile, he says his cultivation at the golden core stage is enough. He releases a large amount of golden energy and prepares to attack. The golden fire engulfs the monster, defeating it with just one powerful blow. With an air of superiority, he turns to the siblings who are in shock. The Villainess duo is speechless and can't believe what they just saw. He thinks his main goal is to humiliate them, not just collect the reward. The brother is shocked to realize the guy wasn't faking it all along. He admits it's impressive that someone with his physique can cultivate. The protagonist warns that there are more monsters nearby, attracted by the commotion of the fight. The siblings are shocked and can't understand how the guy got so strong. With a confident smile, he whistles and prepares for the next step of his plan. The brother remembers that his sister was engaged to the guy and plans to get revenge. The girl remembers he used to like her, but now that he's married, she can use him. With a determined look, she says she'll take care of it and approaches him. She calls him the sixth prince and prepares to use her charm to manipulate him. The young woman praises him for hiding his talents and having such remarkable cultivation. The guy says he prefers the rebellious and untamable version of her from before. She reminds him of their engagement and asks for help getting out of their tough situation. He taunts her and asks who it was that called him a useless prince a few days ago. The guy takes the pills he won as a reward and prepares to use them. He offers him a bag of pills to use as training partners. The women are suspicious of the training method he proposed. His wife decides to trust him once more and prepares for the fight. The fox servant attacks one of the monsters with a quick and powerful blow. The other two also join the battle and bravely face the monsters. The cave fills with lights and sounds of battle as they fight non-stop. After a full day of fighting, his wife asks if there are any pills left. He ignores her and asks her to defeat the last monster that appeared in the cave. The girl apologizes for speaking ill of him and asks him not to hold a grudge. He says he's over her and that they have nothing to do with each other anymore. Annoyed, the girl threatens him and tells him not to test her patience. More monsters appear in the cave and prepare to attack the group of villains. The siblings are terrified by the arrival of more monsters and fear for their lives. The guy laughs and warns them that most of the monsters there are hungry females. He leaps away and leaves the siblings alone to face the fury of the monsters. The villain is terrified to learn about the cave creature's peculiar appetite. The guy says goodbye and has fun watching them in trouble with nowhere to run. The siblings scream for help as they're attacked by the hungry monsters. The system announces the mission was a success and a new rescue task appears. He wonders why the pink-haired girl is so determined to risk her life. He wonders if all women from that era are so obsessed with competition. With the new cultivation card, he dreams of finally having the physique he always wanted. His companions finish their training and are ready for the next stage. In another part of the cave, the pink-haired girl is fighting several monsters. With her blue energy sword, she faces the creatures with great bravery. The guy's wife recognizes the girl and wonders what she's doing there. With a powerful blow, she defeats several monsters at once with her sword. Hiding, the guy watches the fight and recognizes the girl from the previous competition. Tired, the girl wonders why so many monsters are gathered in that place. The shadows of the defeated monsters rise up and prepare to attack again. The creatures charge furiously toward the girl, who is shocked by the scene. She wonders if demonic beasts can be resurrected and becomes terrified. The guy's wife realizes that a demonic scepter is the source of the whole problem. She warns that if they don't destroy the object, they'll be swallowed by the monsters. The pink-haired girl is hit by a monster and thrown far away. Seeing the situation, the guy realizes he needs to act fast to save her. He rescues her in mid-air and holds her in his arms to protect her from danger. Surprised, she calls him the sixth prince and thanks him for his help in the battle. His wife appears and asks what he's doing there with the other girl. With a cold look, she stares at her husband and waits for a good explanation. The demon fox praises her progress and suggests she grab an artifact. The white-haired girl thinks about the second floor and what she might find there. The guy calls his wife and tries to explain the situation as best as he can. She says the energy of the place is insufficient and that they need to go deeper. He takes the opportunity and says he was just wondering how to explain the rescue. With a smile, he says he knows a shortcut to the second floor of the palace. The group follows the guy to the next level, and the two women follow him closely. His wife wonders how he knows the layout of that place so well. A day later, his wife asks the servant if there are any pills left, and the fox girl responds with a loud no. Lying on a rock, the guy tells his wife she can get by without them, and the white-haired girl gets annoyed by his comment. To help his wife, he destroys the demonic scepter with a sword strike, and the object breaks into two pieces from the impact. A great blue light comes out of the broken object and surrounds the whole group, and they feel a huge amount of power coming from the energy. With the energy, the pink-haired girl ascends from the 5th to the 3rd level of cultivation, and she looks very surprised by what just happened. The fox servant also increases her power, going to the 4th level of the golden core, and she is very happy, striking a celebratory pose. His wife also receives the power and ascends to the 1st level of the golden core, and her energy is now much stronger than before. Surprised by the result, she wonders if she really went up 3 levels at once, and the young woman can't believe her new strength. With a smile, the protagonist says it seems they've made a lot of progress, and he is very happy with the result of his foolproof plan. Embarrassed, the pink-haired girl asks if she can continue with them, and she seems to be enjoying the 6th prince's company. The guy points to his wife and says she should ask the real boss, thinking his wife will send her away. The white-haired wife says she doesn't mind, and the guy is shocked by her answer, as he didn't expect her to agree so easily. She says that extra help won't hinder their journey and ignores his opinion, and with a cold look, the young woman turns and moves on. The protagonist thinks they must be tired of fighting monsters, so he decides to use a system item to help them. With the item, he creates a house and says they will rest there for one night, and the guy announces they will head to the 2nd floor the next day. His wife is shocked by the house and asks where he got this treasure, suspecting that he hides many things from her. He makes up an excuse, saying it was a gift his father gave him, and the protagonist tries to play it cool to avoid raising more suspicion. The pink-haired girl clings to him and asks the prince to accept her, and shyly, she insists on becoming his consort. He yells for help, saying the girl is harassing him, and the system announces that the mission was a success and gives him a reward card. Inside the room, the protagonist uses the card and is surrounded by golden flames, and the system informs him that he can now cultivate like the others. With a smile, he celebrates that he finally managed to finish the mission and is now much more powerful than before. He also celebrates that his abilities have advanced and that the feeling of controlling his own body is incredible and very powerful. With a blue aura, he realizes he can now hide his cultivation and that no one will be able to stand against him because of it. But suddenly, the bedroom door opens slowly, and someone enters the room without making any noise to draw attention. It was his wife, and he asks why she isn't resting, as it's already late at night, and she should be in bed sleeping. The girl says she has grown much stronger, and thinks she can become even more powerful with the help of her dear husband. With an alluring look and a blushing face, she tells them they should get started, and the guy is a bit confused by the situation. Without a second thought, she pushes him onto the bed, and the guy yells for her to wait a bit, as he wasn't ready for this. The two stare at each other with surprised expressions, and the white-haired girl seems determined to go through with her plan. The fox servant and the pink-haired girl appear at the door and ask if they can join them in bed too. Shocked, he wonders what they're doing and if they absorbed too many energy pills, but then he thinks that maybe this isn't so bad after all. The three girls stare at him with teasing looks, and the guy is left not knowing what to do with all the attention from them. Breaking out in a cold sweat but with a smile on his face, he realizes they've all come to his room and that it's going to be a very long night. The pink-haired girl says it's no big deal and that it's their wish to be there with the sixth prince that night. Completely surrounded, he asks why they are in such a hurry, and the guy seems a little desperate about the situation. The next morning, he is completely exhausted in bed while the girls seem fine, and he wonders why he is so tired. His wife says it's time to go to the second floor because she needs to get a magical weapon that is hidden there. The guy is surprised and asks why he didn't know about this weapon, thinking it must be a treasure like her ring. With a smile, he gets up and says he will show them the way to the second floor, and his wife seems satisfied with his answer. The group then arrives in front of a bright blue portal, and the guy says the entrance to the second floor is right there. Upon entering the portal, the guy is surprised by what he sees and wonders what kind of place this is. They arrive at a giant cliff, and the group observes the landscape of the second floor, which is covered in a mysterious fog. The group then starts walking along a narrow path, and the fog around them gets thicker and stranger. His wife asks what's wrong with the fog, and he tells her not to worry because the magical weapon is more important. Suddenly, a bunny girl appears, and the protagonist gets all flustered, thinking it's just an illusion. A system screen then appears, warning him that he is under the effect of a hallucination and needs to be careful. With a nosebleed, he tells his wife not to mind him and to keep walking while he enjoys the view. The three girls look at him, completely confused and annoyed by his strange and clueless behavior. They finally arrive at a large platform, and in the center, find some people who were already waiting for them. The white-haired woman explains that those are her former followers and that she needs to defeat them to get the weapon. The followers warn them to leave or they will be forced to attack the intruders without mercy. Meanwhile, in another part of the cave, the original protagonist is also exploring the area with his own group. A man with an arrogant smile greets the original protagonist, calling him brother in a very friendly way. The mentor greets him back and says he was a little delayed on his way to get there. The man explains that he needs to reach the third floor to receive an ancestral inheritance that is hidden there. He says it's too dangerous to go alone, so he brought his brothers to ensure everything goes smoothly on the journey. His companions say they only care about his well, being and are not interested in the inheritance he will receive. The woman accompanying the original protagonist seems attracted to him and gives a small laugh with an alluring look. Back on the first floor, the Villainess siblings are desperately fleeing from the monsters that are still chasing them through the cave. Desperate and injured, he yells for his sister to stop and wait for him because he can no longer keep up with her pace. The girl tells her brother to hang in there and keep going, as they are almost at their destination. Suddenly, they run into the second prince and his guards, who ask who is there. The second prince stares at them with a serious expression and raises his hand to stop them from getting any closer. With a smile, the girl greets him and seems very relieved to have finally found some help. But suddenly, she stumbles and falls forward, unable to keep her balance because of her injuries. The young woman then falls into the arms of the second prince, who quickly catches her with a surprised look on his face. The prince then asks if they are the siblings Chuyang and Chujunjin, and he seems confused by the situation. Her brother falls to the ground screaming in pain, and it seems he has finally reached his limit. The prince asks what happened to them and why they are so injured, saying that the place is dangerous. Lying on the ground, the young man says it's their fault for provoking the sixth prince's anger in the cave. He remembers the protagonist's smile and thinks his bright future is over because of that guy. Angrily, he decides he will put all the blame on the protagonist to get revenge for the humiliation. He then lies and tells the second prince that they were just cultivating peacefully in the cave. The villain continues his lie and accuses the sixth prince of intentionally sending the monsters after them. The girl also lies and asks for help, saying her brother's lower body isn't working like it used to. In complete shock, the young man realizes his lower body is useless and he falls into total despair. The second prince becomes furious and wonders how the sixth prince managed to get there. He tells them not to worry because he will take care of everything and sends someone to call a doctor for the siblings. With a blue aura, he vows revenge and says he will report his brother to the emperor as soon as they get out. The scene then cuts to the protagonist girls, who are ready for the next stage of the journey. The fight against the followers begins, and the pink-haired girl screams in pain after being caught off guard by an attack. She is tied up and hung upside down, and the young woman becomes completely desperate about the situation. The guy realizes that at their current level, they are no match for their opponents, who easily trap them in the air. Suddenly, his wife starts to float with a pink aura, and she finally gets the magical weapon she wanted so much. The weapon is a golden tiara that increases the user speed and purification level in combat. The fox spirit says she can use the power, but first, she needs more yin energy for her plans. With a wicked look, his wife asks for yin energy, and the guy is startled by her sudden change. He wonders why she has a strange aura and realizes that he is the main source of yin energy she needs. After the young woman got the weapon, the group continue their journey through the second floor of the underground palace. They walk through a dark cave, and the girls follow the protagonist with serious expressions on their faces. Suddenly, the guy notices something moving and warns everyone to be on alert for danger. From the cave ceiling, a huge swarm of demonic bats appears, and they prepare to attack the group. The protagonist notices that the demons on the second floor are stronger and sees this as a chance to test his power. He then tells the girls to take care of the smaller bats because he will face the biggest threat alone. With a confident smile on his face, he seems excited to finally test his new cultivation skills. A giant monster with bat wings and horns appears in front of him with a frightening purple aura. Surrounded by blue lightning, he says they will see who is the strongest in the battle that is about to begin. The monster launches a powerful attack, and the guy realizes the enemy's energy is extremely high and dangerous. Determined to fight, he prepares to counterattack and show all his power to the demonic creature. He then charges forward to attack, saying he'll see if he can give it his all to win this great battle. He attacks the monster with his blue energy, and the two powers clash with great force in the middle of the cave. With a serious expression, he prepares to dodge the monster's swift attack coming from behind him. The guy manages to dodge the demonic creature's blow with impressive agility and escapes unharmed. He jumps high into the air to avoid the attack coming from the ground and gets away from the danger for a moment in the battle. Realizing the danger, he decides it's time to use a more practical skill for the fight. With a smile, he remembers the techniques he read in a book and feels confident about facing the enemy. The creature roars in fury and charges at the guy with a very powerful red energy. With a challenging look, he faces the monster and prepares for the next move in the fight to come. His wife screams desperately, telling him to be careful of the enemy's powerful approaching attack. The guy dodges several energy blasts with incredible speed and manages to escape the attacks unharmed. The creature attacks once more, causing a huge explosion where the protagonist was standing. Even in pain, he keeps a smile on his face and seems to be enjoying the intense fight. Lying on the ground, he complains that his head is hurting a lot from the impact of the hit he took. The three girls look at him with confused expressions, not understanding what's happening in the battle. He gets up and says he has almost mastered the new technique he learned for the fight against the monster. Using the technique, he creates several images of himself to confuse the monster and easily dodge its blows. Impressed, the girls wonder when he managed to progress so much in such a short time of cultivation. The creature becomes furious when it realizes it can't land a single hit on the protagonist, who dodges everything. The monster then uses a powerful sonic attack and launches a wave of red energy in their direction. His wife creates an energy shield to protect the group and warns everyone not to move during the attack. The monster charges forward with impressive speed and prepares another powerful attack against the group. His wife warns that the shield is about to break and that something very serious is about to happen in the fight. With a serious expression, the protagonist says there's no point in running and that it's time to take real action. With a blue aura, he summons several energy swords and prepares to counterattack the monster. The energy swords hit the monster head-on, and the impact of the blow is extremely strong and devastating. The force of the attack creates a huge explosion, and a cloud of dust rises at the battle site. After the dust settles, he realizes the monster is still alive and prepares for his next move. He then takes out a demonic golden core pill and says it can greatly increase his strength in the fight. His wife is shocked and wonders if he was hiding his talent all along and who he really is. The pink-haired girl says he's incredible and wonders who spread the rumor that he was useless. He explains that there's still time before the palace closes and that if they increase their cultivation, they can advance. The guy then hands the pill to his wife, and the white-haired girl asks what that object is. With a wink, he says it's a great item for his wife, and she gets a little embarrassed by the gesture. Blushing, the white-haired girl thanks him for the gift and seems very happy with the attention she received. A new mission appears in the system, and he needs to eliminate 3 demonic cultivators hidden on the second floor. The reward is a card that increases his wife's affinity by 10 points, and he is shocked by the prize. With a smile, he says he can't miss this task and gets ready for the new mission he just received. His wife holds the pill with both hands, and a golden light begins to shine with great intensity. The golden energy from the pill envelops her entire body, and she begins to meditate to absorb all the power. She feels an intense heat in her body, and in her memories, she sees some people fighting in a distant place. She remembers that the farmers believe fire devours all, leaving no trace behind. If it weren't for her father, she would have been taken out along with all her people on a tragic day. With determination, she vows to become stronger to avenge her family and her entire clan. The protagonist calls out to her, and the white-haired girl awakens from her memories with a serious expression. He wonders if she remembered something sad and worries about her reaction at that moment. To break the tense mood, he pretends to cough and gets the girl's attention for the next step. With a smile, he says they are going to train a little and that he needs to take care of some things on his own. He asks the fox servant to look after his wife while he is away, and the girl agrees with a smile. His wife wonders where he is going and seems suspicious of her husband's true intentions. The system shows that the mission is to find the cultivators of the Genshin clan who are hiding on the second floor. He remembers that there are 5 true clans on the continent and that their history is quite complicated. Among them, the Chonlon clan stands out for its strength since ancient times and for its great influence. The scene shows a giant purple monster attacking one of the clans with very powerful and destructive energy. Years ago, several clans united to protect the population from monster attacks that threatened everyone. He remembers that in the original story, some cultivators from the Zhencheng clan followed an evil path. Since the reward for the mission is very good, he decides he will deal with this first before moving on. With a leap, he sets off in search of the demonic cultivators, determined to complete the mission. On a distant cliff, he spots two people and a giant blue monster that seems to be with them. One of the girls warns the other to be careful, because the monster is very strong and could be dangerous. The creature then attacks with one of its tentacles, and the blow is extremely fast and hard to dodge. The blue-haired girl is caught by the monster's tentacles and screams in pain as she is captured by the creature. The other young woman is also caught and realizes her energy is being absorbed by the monster, which wants more power. Furious, she curses the demonic creature and tries to break free from the tentacles that hold her tightly. The tentacles tighten even more, and the red-haired girl struggles to free herself from their grip. With a sword strike, she manages to break free and attacks the blue slime monster to save her friend. She asks if her friend is okay, and the blue-haired girl says she just had a little of her energy drained. Watching from afar, the protagonist realizes that time is running out and prepares to take action. He thinks the evil cultivators are waiting for the right moment and decides he will find out the truth. Suddenly, three cloaked figures appear, and the girls scream, frightened by the mysterious presence. Terrified, they ask who the men who appeared out of nowhere are and what they want there. The group's leader tells them to talk less and crosses his arms with a look of superiority on his face. The villains launch a green energy attack, and the girls are already poisoned with nowhere to run. The energy gets closer, and the blue-haired girl screams for her friend, who tells her not to be afraid of the attack. But suddenly, the protagonist appears in front of them and blocks the attack with incredible speed. The red-haired girl is shocked by his sudden appearance and doesn't understand how he got there. With a smile, he says he arrived just in time and that they shouldn't have put the young women in danger. The villains ask who he is, and one of them warns not to underestimate him as he defended a double blow. He explains to the girls that the cultivators wanted to take advantage of them to steal their spiritual energy. With a wink, he says that now their plan has failed and that he heard they aren't interested in men. He then imagines the two of them together and thinks this is a great chance for him to get what he wants with them. With his eyes sparkling, he gets very excited about the great chance he just got to have some fun. But he remembers he first needs to focus on the mission the system gave him and faces the villains. One of the villains gets furious and shouts, asking how he dares to interfere with their evil plans. The three villains then attack at the same time, launching a powerful purple energy toward the guy. With a confident smile, he prepares to counterattack and puts his hands together to use a technique. He then unleashes a powerful wave of blue energy that throws the three villains far away with great force. The guy says he's had stronger rivals and prepares a new attack with golden energy in his hand. The golden energy attack hits the villains head on, and they scream in pain as they are caught by the blow. Injured, one of the villains takes out a potion and says he will show him true suffering in battle. The three then drink the potion and with an evil laugh, say that this will be the protagonist's last day. With the potion, they become much stronger and float in the air with an even more powerful purple aura. The guy realizes they are using a magical weapon to absorb energy and fight for a longer time. The girls warn him to be careful, as the villains have just surpassed several realms at once. With a confident smile, he says that either way, they can't scare him with that power. One of the villains tells him to stop talking, and the three of them charge forward for a powerful, combined attack. Engulfed in golden flames, he asks what's wrong with talking and prepares to counterattack. He then launches a huge fire tornado toward the villains with impressive and swift force. The fire attack causes a huge explosion on the site and lifts many rocks with the force of its impact. Defeated, the villains wonder where that pressure came from and are shocked by the guy's power. He reveals that he is in the nascent soul stage, and the two girls are shocked by the discovery. With a smile, he asks if the villains now understand the power difference between them. The guy then says he will put them on the right path and goes on the attack with everything he's got. One of the villains realizes he has no chance of winning and yells that they need to retreat. To escape, the villains then throw a smoke bomb and the guy is surprised by their tactic. Annoyed, he tries to grab one of them, but the villain escapes through the smoke and the guy yells for him to stop. Meanwhile, the girls find a giant tree that glows with a mysterious blue light. The pink-haired girl asks if they aren't going to wait for him, but his wife says they don't know when he'll be back. With a determined look, she suggests they explore the area, as there must be many useful things there. The fox servant then approaches and touches the tree to feel the energy coming from it. Suddenly, a glowing core appears inside the tree, and she realizes something is hidden there. Shocked, his wife wonders if that's really a tree heart and is surprised. She explains that it is rare, and that if they can get the core, their cultivation will increase greatly. Without a second thought, she attacks the tree with her sword to try to get the wooden heart. But the blow is repelled by a barrier, and the fox servant is shocked by what happened. Confused, his wife doesn't understand what happened, and the tree begins to glow brighter. A strong wave of energy throws her away, and the white-haired woman screams from the impact. The pink-haired girl is impressed by the powerful energy that came from the large tree. Suddenly, a face with red eyes appears on the trunk, and the tree seems to be alive and furious. With a scary voice, the tree asks who dared to touch it and glares at the girls angrily. Embarrassed, his wife apologizes and says they didn't know the tree was resting. The tree says that since they woke it up, they will stay with it, and with a scary smile, it prepares to attack. The tree's roots then burst out of the ground, and the girls jump back to dodge the all-out attack. Shocked, the two wonder if they are going to pass away there, and the pink-haired girl despairs at the situation. His wife then looks up and sees more roots coming toward her to attack her without mercy. With her sword, she tries to defend herself and yells for the roots not to get close to her in the battle. One of the roots then rushes forward with incredible speed and prepares to capture one of the girls. The pink-haired girl is caught by the tree's vines, and she screams in pain as she is captured by the enemy. On the ground and trapped by the vines, she screams desperately and seems to be in a very tough spot. The fox servant recognizes the tree and says the goo it releases will slowly devour her over time. She also warns that if the tree is over 1,000 years old, no one there will be a match for it in a fight. The servant then asks to give it a try, focuses her energy to save the girl, and says they need to flee afterward. But suddenly she is caught off guard, and one of the tree's roots hits her right in the chest. His wife desperately screams the fox servant's name and is shocked by the scene she just witnessed. The tree says it knows they wanted its core, but now they will have to fight it to survive. His wife is also caught by the vines and is lifted into the air upside down, unable to react. Trapped by the vines, she feels her energy being drained and wonders what is happening to her body. The tree says it knows she is scared, but there is no escape, and she needs to hang in there. Submerged in water, she mentions the tree's poison and seems to be losing consciousness slowly. Desperate, she struggles and screams for the tree to let her go because she can't take the pressure of the vines anymore. One of the vines then opens a mouth and prepares to absorb all of the white-haired girl's energy. She screams in pain and wonders what that is, as the vine squeezes her body with great force. The vine wraps around her leg, and the white-haired girl feels a strange energy coming from it. Losing consciousness, she remembers a moment from her past with her father in a distant place. In the memory, her father warns her that if she doesn't control her power, her path will be very difficult. Desperate and crying, she screams for her father as a dark energy completely envelops her. A tear rolls down her cheek, and the white-haired girl seems to be suffering greatly from the memory. Suddenly, her eyes open with a pink glow, and the vine in front of her begins to crack. With an explosion of red energy, she frees herself from the vines and shows off all her new power. With red eyes and a scary aura, she glares at the tree with a look of pure malice. Holding a piece of the broken vine, she looks ready for revenge against the creature. Without a second thought, she charges straight toward the tree's face to strike with force. With a swift and powerful movement, she prepares to land a direct hit on her great enemy. With a wicked smile, she punches the tree and calls it an insect with great contempt. The punch lands squarely and causes a huge impact on the trunk of the creature that was attacking her. The tree then screams in pain and puts its hand on its face where it was hit by her powerful blow. With a superior pose, the young woman prepares to continue the fight and finish off the tree. She feels the spiritual energy and yin energy mixing and flowing throughout her body. The young woman feels as if a second breath is opening up inside her body now. Terrified, the tree recognizes her as a demon and suddenly begs her to stop the attack. Annoyed, she asks if the tree thinks she'll stop just because it admitted its mistake in the fight. The tree explains that it promised not to attack the descendants of a powerful man from the demon clan. It says that behind it is a spring of energy that can heal wounds and cleans the body's channels. The spring of energy glows with an intense blue light and seems to be a perfect place to recover. With a wicked smile, the white-haired woman thinks that if she finishes it off, she can take both the core and the spring. The tree warns that if she takes it out, the palace guards will awaken, and she will suffer greatly for it. The white-haired woman realizes it's not lying and that she can't maintain her current state. She then warns the tree not to let anyone bother her and heads toward the spring of energy. The young woman then sits on the edge of the spring, preparing to get in the water and heal her injuries. She then drinks some of the spring water and feels a strange, but very good sensation in her body. With a blushing face, she says the water is very good and that her tongue was wrapped in something smooth. Feeling very hot, she starts to take off her clothes and seems to be enjoying the spring water. She thinks that, if the protagonist were there, she would like to try the spring water with him. The young woman then takes off the rest of her clothes and prepares to get completely into the spring water. She notices that the place is full of energy and that the water can heal wounds and transform the pill. Upon entering the water, she cries out in pleasure and says the feeling is very good and refreshing for the body. The other two girls are passed out on the edge of the spring while she enjoys the water alone. Suddenly, some monkeys appear and jump from the tree branches with a great commotion. They grab the girl's clothes and the fox servant wakes up, startled by the monkeys' confusion. The two then fall into the water, and the white-haired woman screams in surprise at the sudden fall. Embarrassed, the two girls scream in the water, and the scene ends with a moment of pure comedy. With a smile, his wife waves to the other two girls, who are completely shocked and embarrassed in the water. The girl then remembers the moment her power awakened, and she was able to easily break free from the tree's vines. She explains that she was suddenly filled with power, and that's why she was able to defeat the tree and find the spring of energy. The pink-haired girl wonders if this was the same weird force that grabbed her last time. While relaxing in the water with the monkeys, they decide to let it go and worry about it later. Out of nowhere, one of the little monkeys starts splashing water on them, and the girls are confused about what's going on. The creature gives a mischievous look, clearly taking advantage of their situation in the spring. He splashes even more water, and the two of them scream at the prank while the monkey cracks up laughing. Annoyed by the creature's nerve, the two of them sock him and send him flying far away. The scene changes and shows the protagonist returning with two villains already in the bag, mentioning that one managed to get away. The two of them look at him in surprise, clearly grateful for his help. The young man says his goodbyes, saying he needs to hit the road to continue his journey in the palace. Alone, he thinks it was all a waste of effort and that he needs to get back to his wife and the others soon. The red-haired girl thanks him and casually asks if he'd like some company for the trip. They get closer and explain that in their sect, people usually cultivate together with other women. The young man pulls their hands away and immediately refuses the offer, saying he doesn't need that kind of thing. He gets straight to the point, explaining that he's already married and isn't planning on getting with anyone else. Without mincing words, he tells them they're weak and should go back to the first floor to train more. The protagonist meets up with his group again and explains that they will continue cultivating together. 4 days pass, and he prepares to open a portal with his blue energy and move forward. In the meantime, he also meditated and trained hard, with a sinister fiery aura around him. With a determined look, he opens his eyes, revealing his new and absurd cultivation power. When he's done, he finds his wife and the other girl, who also seem much stronger. Smiling, he comments that everyone's cultivation has improved and that now they're heading to the 3rd floor. Meanwhile, back on the 2nd floor, a mysterious creature lets out an evil laugh. The last villain who escaped comments that it's a good thing they didn't run into any dangerous beasts around there. But out of nowhere, a monster grabs him, and the guy complains about having such bad luck. The creature uses a weird device to suck the bald man's energy with a bizarre purple aura. Engulfed by the energy, the man screams in pain but swears he won't let this slide. He transforms and promises that he'll make the protagonist bitterly regret messing with him. With a furious shout, the transformed villain yells that now they'll see who's truly the strongest. A screen appears showing the group's power level, and you can see that the protagonist is a beast. The screen also shows that the girls got a nice boost in their cultivation while inside. The group arrives at a portal, and he tells them that the path to the 3rd level is through there. Suspicious, his wife crosses her arms and asks how he knows all of this. He makes up an excuse, saying his father told him about the place, but she knows right away it's a lie. The protagonist then takes a step forward, covered in a blue aura, ready to enter the portal. They enter a marketplace and he comments that, just like in the book, there are 3 demons hiding around there. In the market, a vendor offers roasted rabbit meat to the group as they pass by. The man approaches the protagonist and insists that he try the food from his stall. The vendor tells him not to be shy and to give it a try, even if he's not going to buy it. They keep insisting, but the protagonist refuses, saying his wife can't eat it because she's pregnant. Smiling, he takes the skewer and eats it, telling his wife not to worry, he'll try it for her. The fox servant starts to cry at the scene, and the pink-haired girl doesn't understand why. Crying, the fox girl complains that rabbits are too cute to be turned into food. The pink-haired girl eats and comments that the food is delicious, and that someone there is very brave. Suddenly, a system screen shows a new mission: free 20 souls in exchange for a reward. Confused, he wonders why the system is giving him these weird missions about souls. Out of nowhere, a purple-haired woman jumps from a rooftop and runs toward the group. She comes running desperately, asking for help, while some masked guys are hot on her trail. The protagonist's wife steps in front and takes down one of the pursuers with a kick. The woman throws herself into the hero's arms, saying she's terrified of the situation. With unfriendly looks, his wife and the other girl ask her what she thinks she's doing. The pink-haired girl pulls her away and asks if she doesn't understand the rules between men and women. With a red face, the protagonist thinks about how she's blushing while scolding the others. The woman thanks them, introduces herself as the owner of a nearby tavern, and invites everyone to go there. The woman plays helpless, saying she hurt her leg and asks if the protagonist can carry her on his back. The white-haired wife shuts her down, saying she'll help her herself, and there's no need to bother her husband. In the end, the purple-haired woman ends up riding a donkey they just bought, and the hero gets really annoyed. The protagonist walks beside the animal and wonders why on earth he still has to lead the woman by the hand. His wife and the other girl watch the scene and comment that it's good to have her around to keep an eye on suspicious people. The pink-haired girl looks into the distance and sees the rabbit vendor with a very weird smile. The protagonist pulls out a purification card, thinking there's something fishy about that rabbit meat. He notices that his friend is acting strangely and gets worried because he only has one card to use. Arriving at the tavern, the purple-haired woman invites them to eat as a thank you. The young man looks around suspiciously, wondering if there are any lost souls in this huge place. His wife comes close and whispers that something is wrong and they need to stay sharp. The purple-haired woman's hands start to glow, and she gets ready to pull something. The woman calls over other girls and asks them to entertain the guests in the best way possible. 3 young women appear from behind a curtain, ready for a special performance. The girls introduce themselves, telling their names to the watching group. They then start to dance and play lively music to entertain the crowd. The protagonist drinks excitedly and shouts for them to keep the music and dancing going. The tavern owner thinks the young man fell for their act, but he drops something into his own drink. Suddenly, the young man grabs his wife, and they both fall to the floor, pretending to be dizzy. He falls onto a bed with the white-haired woman on top of him, appearing to be passed out. The white-haired young woman looks at him all flushed, seemingly under the effect of something. She thinks that looking up close, the young man actually has a very handsome face. Suddenly, the white-haired woman realizes something is off, and is very surprised. With a blushing face and drooling, she seems to be completely out of it because of the drink. He opens his eyes with a smile and asks if his wife has stared at him long enough. Shocked, she screams and asks why he isn't drunk like he's supposed to be. The young woman gets furious, and he tells her to calm down, explaining he needed to distract the old witch who was keeping an eye on them. With a serious and irritated look, the white-haired girl repeats the insult he just threw out. He explains that the 3 demonesses are hiding their auras and plotting something against them. His wife listens carefully and understands they will try to get close to put their plan into action. The young man says he will sneak into the woman's room at night to look for more clues. Worried, she reminds him that he ate the meat, but he explains that he discreetly spit it all out. With a confident look, he says he already has a perfect plan to visit the woman's room. The scene cuts to the tavern owner's room as she slowly enters. The protagonist has transformed into a paintbrush and thinks about how clever he is for turning into such a simple thing. She picks him up and he panics thinking he's been discovered, but then quickly thinks it's impossible. The tavern owner sits on the bed with the paintbrush in her hand and a very thoughtful look. With a strange expression, she stares at the object, and he wonders what she's planning. The woman thinks that it's been a while since she's had a man, and that the nights alone are very long. She then starts to brush her body with the paintbrush, and he thinks she must be really desperate. The young man turns back to normal and falls on top of the woman, saying he got too excited and transformed back. Desperate, he apologizes and says the night was so enchanting that he lost himself. The woman yells at him to stop, and the hero runs off, scared of her reaction. She invites him to spend the night with her, since the night is still young. The young man refuses and says his wife is waiting and he can't be late. He tries to open the door, but the woman locks it and prevents him from leaving the room no matter what. She reveals herself as a demoness and asks why he wants to leave so soon. Furious, the woman asks if he doesn't like being with her, and the hero senses her power. Suddenly, the protagonist's wife breaks down the door and enters the room to save him. She says she knew something had happened because he was taking too long to come back. The fox servant and the other girl also appear, saying something is wrong with their friend. The pink-haired woman complains about being hot, and the young man and his wife wonder what happened. With an evil smile, the demoness says they'll get a bonus for coming all the way there. Furious, the protagonist asks what she did to his friend, but the villain just laughs. The demoness explains that the girl ate the rabbit meat, which was full of worm eggs. The villain says that now she will become her puppet, and that everyone there will share the same fate. The villain then floats with her puppets and prepares for a group attack. His wife says they are just 3 at the 4th stage of the golden core. With an evil smile, the villain says she's lucky to find a half-demon. The system shows her demonization level, and the young man is shocked by the number. With a red aura, she says that if they are puppets, they need to be destroyed. He stops her and explains that if she destroys the puppets, the souls trapped inside them will vanish. The villain charges forward and says not to harm the women, as the men don't matter. With a confident look, his wife prepares to fight against the puppets. She then attacks the girls and wonders if they really think they can hurt her. One of the puppets attacks her from behind with a tentacle to catch her by surprise. But the protagonist steps in front and blocks the blow to protect his beloved wife. Scared, she asks if he's okay, and the young man seems to be in a lot of pain from the hit. With a smile, he says everything is fine and that it's his duty to protect her from danger. The system announces that their affinity has increased and rewards him with a powerful sword. On the floor, the puppets are defeated and seem to have no more energy to fight. His wife then floats, and the villain wonders what she's planning to do. She absorbs the puppet's energy and says her body is filling with power. The young man is shocked and wonders when she learned to absorb spiritual energy. The demoness screams for her to stop because if she sucks all the energy, the puppets will be useless. He explains that she needs yin energy to maintain the puppets, which is why her attacks are weak. With an evil smile, the demoness says that to deal with him, she won't need to try very hard. The villain then prepares for a powerful attack and says she won't need to hold back in the fight. She charges from above and yells for the protagonist to end this once and for all. The young man dodges the blow, and the demoness's attack hits the floor with great force. With a serious look, he asks if she really thought he would fall for such an obvious attack. He takes his new sword and says this is a great chance to test out the new weapon. With a swift move, the hero charges with his flaming sword to attack the demoness.